Good morning. It looks like someone has joined the hearing. It just says iPhone on the screen. If you can change your screen name to show your first and last name and then the company that you're with, please. And to
Yeah,
do,
I'm not sure how to do that. I've
okay.
never really used Zoom before.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, you're on a phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Can you hear
perfect.
me?
Yep, I just need to turn up my volume a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Um, I can change that for you on my side. So tell me your first and last name.
Yeah, it's Alex Yoder. That's spelled Yoder.
Okay. And then the company.
Phoenix Towing and Recovery.
Okay. Okay, let me change that and then you'll see it on your screen.
How's your
So,
morning going?
not so bad, not so bad. How's yours?
Yeah, early.
And you said Phoenix Towing and Recovery, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. And then if you look at your screen now, where your picture is that right?
Well, I see like it almost looks like a FaceTime for me where my picture's up in the
Oh,
top
okay,
right
okay.
corner.
Well, I just
But I
have,
did see just yeah, I saw a second ago where it said white letters that it had been changed to Phoenix
okay,
Towing and Recovery.
perfect. Okay, good deal. So if you can just, we won't start until 9 a.m.
Okay.
But you are on. I can hear you. I can see you. If you can turn off your camera for now, you can mute yourself and then just come back on just before 9, and then the judge will start the hearing.
Okay. Not a problem.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Good morning. Hey, Harriet, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All righty. All right. We'll go on the record here with proceedings number 24G-0347TO and 24G-0348TO. Colorado Public Utilities Commission versus Phoenix Towing and Recovery LLC. I'm Administrator Law Judge Robert Garvey. Today is the 12th of December, 2024 at approximately 9 a.m. This proceeding comes on for an evidentiary hearing pursuant to decision number R24-0777-I. I start with appearances, and I'll start with staff.
Good morning, Your Honor. Aileen Chong, Assistant Attorney General with the Colorado Attorney General's Office, here on behalf of PUC trial staff. With me is also co-counsel Jennifer Hayden, Assistant Attorney General, and we have staff witness Joe Potts here as well.
All right. Good morning to everyone. And I see a Mr. Yoder, and I'm guessing you're representing Phoenix Towing. So if you could
Yes, sir.
Okay, just state your name and just state that you're representing them if you are.
My name is Alex Yoder, and I'm representing Phoenix Towing and Recovery.
All right. Mr. Yoder, I'm going to talk to you a little bit before we get started here, just so you understand what's going on and then make sure everyone's on the same page here, okay? I'm going to ask you to do me one big favor, though. If anything I say doesn't make sense, if you need it repeated, if I talk in some crazy lawyer talk that you don't understand, please stop me, okay? Tell me to repeat it. Tell me to go over it. I want to make sure that you understand what's going on. You don't win any prizes for pretending to know what I'm talking about, okay? So if I ask you something and I don't think you know it, I'm going to ask you to explain it to me. So realize that might happen. So what we have here today, we're going to have a hearing, okay? And it's going to be the staff's case to present evidence. They have the burden in the case to show that the alleged violations that they have on the two CPANs, that you did that, okay? They're going to present evidence and they're going to present testimony. And okay, go ahead.
Sorry, that's what I'm trying to understand. I've been trying to figure this out for a while now because I actually closed the company a few months back because we just couldn't. Business went to absolute zero, and staff members of mine were just acting a fool, and I ended up having major back surgery. And that's what I'm trying to understand is even what these two CPAN fines are, because I never, after the last go around with PUC investigator Erin, I can't remember her last name right off. She had told me we were done with CPANs, and I never received or signed for any other CPAN fines after the last go around with Erin. So I don't even know what these two CPAN fines are for, or
Well, I tell you what, Mr. Yoder, let me ask you a question real quickly.
Yes, sir.
And this also goes to you, Ms. Chung. Has there been any there's only two charges on here. They're not particularly big. When I noticed that, has there been any discussion since the CPANs have been issued towards any kind of settlement or resolution? Mr. Yoder, have you talked to them about this at all or not?
No, I haven't. That's what I'm saying. This is new to me. The only time I saw it was when I saw the emails about the two CPANs, and I was looking through my records, looking through all the CPANs that I had signed for with Aaron and with the other investigators, and I couldn't match up any of the CPAN papers that I signed for with these particular CPAN fine numbers.
Okay. Hey,
So that's why I'm pretty confused.
Okay, hang on. Ms. Chung, do you know if there's been any negotiations? At least, of course, Mr. Yoder, there hasn't been. Do you know if there's any talks on that or any settlement?
Your Honor, it's my understanding that Mr. Yoder did reach out to staff and emailed staff counsel on this case. And this was a while back, months ago. And we did respond to that email, but there was no response to that email. So there have not been any negotiation discussions based off of the lack of the response. And I will note that, we're here at hearing today. I don't believe that staff is in a position where they would want to open up those negotiation conversations, given that Mr. Yoder did have our contact information to get this figured out in the past months. So we do intend to go towards hearing today.
Well, Ms. Chung, I think you should always be open to any kind of settlement if the one's there, okay? Let me tell you that real quickly, okay? That's the goal here. The goal is to do that. If we can find a resolution, especially in situations like this, where maybe there's a problem communication, and if that's been the problem, then you should at least consider it. If you don't want to, that's fine. I can't make you do it. But I wouldn't just out of hand say that, especially if the one party is willing to do it. Yes, Mr. Yoder, I'm sorry, I'll let you speak.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just going to say, I mean, it wasn't for a lack of communication. I do apologize about that. After I went down for surgery and closed the doors on the company, one of my staff members, Stephen Vigil,
Well,
decided to.
and
Oh,
Mr.
go ahead.
Yoder,
Yes, sir.
I don't want you to testify, tell your story now,
No, no,
okay?
no. I was just going to say,
There'll be time for that. If you want to do
okay,
that,
no
okay?
worries.
You know
No
what I mean?
worries.
Yeah, I just want to, first step, I want to make sure you understand what's going on. I want to make
Yes,
sure
sir.
you understand the process that we'll use and stuff like that. What happened, why it happened, anything else like that.
Of course.
There'll be plenty of time to tell me all about that.
Yes,
And
no worries.
and I have to swear you in and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I know I don't want you to say anything now that
Oh,
comes back
understandable.
later and you testify later and they go, hey, you said this earlier. I don't want you to do something like that.
Okay, no worries. I understand.
Okay, so what's going to happen? They're going to present their case. Okay, they're going to call a witness. I got a feeling, based upon what I've been told so far, they're going to present their evidence to try and show by preponderance of the evidence, and that's the standard used in these proceedings, that you committed the offenses that they have alleged. All right. When they call their witnesses, you'll have the opportunity to cross-examine them, and when you do that, that's the time to ask questions. It's not, again, if you start doing what you did a minute ago, or you start telling me about your back surgery, not going to work. I'm going to cut you
Okay,
off. Okay.
no worries, sir. No worries.
That's not questions. But I believe Mr. Potts is going to be their witness, and you'll be able to ask questions based upon what is brought out on his testimony. Okay.
Of course.
After that's done, then I might have some questions for their witness. And when that's done, then Ms. Chung will have the ability to do what we call redirect. And if some things get kind of muddled up, if you ask questions that muddle things up, which you probably want to do, I ask questions that muddle things up, they can try to ask questions to try and clean it up again, to try and present their case. Okay. What'll also happen is they might present exhibits in the hearing.
Okay.
They'll have to ask for admission. They'll say, we'd like to admit exhibit number 101. And I'll ask if there's any objections. And you can object to that, but your objection has to be of a legal basis. All right.
Okay.
It can't be that makes me look really bad. That doesn't help my case. I really don't want that in the hearing. Those aren't real ones. The one thing I
Okay.
will do for you, Mr. Yoder, is I'm not going to hold you to magic words. Okay. You don't have to say the right words. I'll listen to what you say, and I'll try and see if there's something in there. So, for instance, the example I always use is if Ms. Chong wants to suddenly bring in a picture of her baby pictures into this hearing. And she says, I'd like to admit a picture of my baby pictures. And you go, Your Honor, I have no idea why this would have anything to do with what we're doing here today. And I'd go, yes, Mr. Yoder, I'm going to sustain that objection. I find they are not relevant. And so the magic word is relevant. You didn't say it. I'm not going to hold you to that word.
Okay.
But if you tell me why you think it's not in there, I'll see if I can figure out what it is you're talking about. So
Okay.
when they're all done with their case, then it'll be your opportunity to present what you want. You can also present mitigation. That's something I care about as well. So if there's issues that you have, if I assess any penalty, I'm going to see if I believe they've presented enough evidence to show by preponderance of the evidence you did this. But I also want to know if there's different mitigating factors that might influence the penalty that would come in there. So you can do that. So, and then what happens if you testify? I don't know I don't think you have any witnesses. If you do, we can find out about that. If you have any evidence in a document form, do you have any documentary evidence or not?
I don't. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. I didn't even know about these until recently when I received the emails. So I
Okay.
don't have a paper copy. I never got to read through anything. So I don't know what the
Well,
exact issues are.
And what will happen, and I should mention this too, I always forget we're in the virtual world and I don't go over there with everyone all the time. But the documents that they'll bring up, they'll put them on the screen. I have a
Okay.
legal system to show them. You'll be able to see them and look and see what they're talking about. Okay.
Okay.
So before that comes in, and I apologize for not mentioning that before.
No, you're fine.
But like I said, you can you'll be able to testify. Okay. And you don't have to ask yourself questions. You can just tell me what you want to, so you don't have to go, hey, Mr. Yoder, what did you do on that day? And then you answer your question. It's not, you're not running back and forth doing that. So it'll give you the ability to do that. When you're done doing that, then again, Ms. Chung will have the ability to ask you any questions in a cross-examine nature, just like you would for their witnesses. I might have some questions for you as well. When you're all done presenting what you want to, they'll have the opportunity, if they want to present any kind of what we call a rebuttal case. So anything that you brought up in your testimony that they want to rebut, they can't do a whole new case, they can't bring new things up, but mainly to rebut anything, not mainly, totally to rebut anything that you brought up in your case. When
Okay.
that's all done, we'll finish. I will tell you, I will not render a decision today. I have to issue out a written decision. It'll come out 30, 45 days. We get around the holidays, I get a little busy. I'm a little busy right now in general, but also the holidays a little bit more. So I'll then issue out a decision after that. I may ask if there's any legal questions for what we call a statement of position or a closing brief or argument. I don't generally do that in these cases, but sometimes I do. But we'll get to that point if we need to. Is there anything? So does that all make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions?
None so far.
Okay. I realize again, and if things happen and you feel like you're getting lost or something's going up there that you don't understand, you can say, hey, Judge, what the heck is this? Can I ask you a real quick question? And if I can't answer it, I will. I will tell you I can't do your case for you. All right. Realize that.
No, that's fine.
It's
Yes,
up to you. It's on your shoulders to do it. And like I said, the only help I can give you is I'll try and understand what you're saying. All right. Last chance for any questions before we get started.
I'm good. You can go ahead and start, sir.
All right, Ms. Chung, you may call your first witness.
And Your Honor, I did have a quick preliminary matter before I called
Sure.
my first witness. I just did want to clear the record as it has to do with any issues, any alleged issues of notice. Staff did email the email that's on file with the commission for Phoenix Towing and Recovery, and that's phoenixtowing303720@gmail.com. We sent them courtesy copies of the notice of intervention, the entry of appearance, and the request for hearing. Mr. Yoder did respond to that email with that Phoenix Towing 303720@gmail.com. And it is my understanding that that is the same email address that's on file with the commission and how the commission has been serving all of the filings through e-filing. So I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, no, I mean, Mr. Yoder's here, so I'm assuming he got some notification of stuff along the way. Hey, Mr. Yoder, I do need to ask you one question. I did forget
Yes,
to
sir.
ask. So you're the owner of Phoenix Towing, is that correct? Or,
I am. Yes, sir.
You might be telling me you were, but how many owners did you have there?
It was just me and my father,
Okay, so
but he was more of just like the registered agent. So
Okay.
he was in the background, not really doing much.
That's what I figured, and just for your information, the reason why I'm asking you that is just I want to make sure you can represent Phoenix Towing in this
Yes, sir.
matter. And so it has to be closely held, which is 3 or less owners, and you're one of them. And
Yes, sir.
our dollar figure is low enough, so you're good to go. Okay. All right, Ms. Chung, anything further?
Nothing further, and staff would call staff witness Joseph Potts to the stand.
Oh, alrighty. Come on, Mr. Potts, raise your right hand for me. You swear affirm, tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth on a penalty of perjury.
I do.
All right. You got a vacuum cleaner going on there?
No, I'm afraid this would happen. Is there a lot of feedback?
It sounds like you're vacuuming.
No, it's my
It's his
earbud.
fan on his computer thing, and I wish you'd turn it off.
If you'd like, I can take the earbuds out. We can try it directly from the machine if that helps.
Well, Harriet, what do you say? I defer to my
Right now, he's okay.
Okay, all right.
I mean, for the last thing he said.
Okay, I can always ask again. Harriet can't so easily, so I got to make sure that she's okay. But if she's okay, you go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Investigator Potts, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Joseph Potts, JOSEPH, POTTS.
Where are you employed?
Colorado Public Utilities Commission.
And how long have you been employed by the PUC?
For 3 years now.
What is your position?
I'm a criminal investigator.
And what do the responsibilities of a criminal investigator entail?
We investigate complaints that are filed against some of the operators in the industries that we regulate.
Do you have any prior work experience in law enforcement?
Yes, I was a sheriff's deputy for 15 years prior to coming to the PUC.
Thank you. I now want to turn your attention to the first case that we're going to discuss, 24G-0348TO. How did you come to be assigned to this first case, 24G-0348TO, and that's CPAN number 140813? That brings us to a hearing today.
A Makia Birch had filed a complaint against Phoenix Towing.
Okay. And what did you learn from that initial complaint from Micaiah Birch?
She alleged that her vehicle had been stolen and was evidently recovered by Phoenix. Somewhere along the way, she was in contact with the Denver Police Department, who told her that since the vehicle was recovered after a steal, that there would not be any fees associated with the towing and storage of the vehicle. However, she was charged towing and storage fees, so she filed a complaint with the PUC.
And did this tow occur on April 29th, 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So after you received this complaint, did you conduct an initial search within various databases to find information on respondent Phoenix Towing and Recovery?
Yes, I did.
Which databases did you look at?
We have some internal systems such as OpRights, IFMs, and then I also searched ownership information with the Secretary of State's office.
Okay. So I want to start with IFMs. Can we please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit 100?
The redacted version, I assume?
Yes, please. Thank you.
And real quickly, Investigator Potts, when did you start this investigation, and when were you contacted by about this tow?
I was assigned to this complaint at the start of the summer, so I believe it would have been June of 2024.
Okay, and when did you conduct this investigation, or start this investigation?
In June of 2024.
Okay.
I believe the vehicle had been towed in April, and the complaint had been filed a few days after that.
Okay.
Thank you. And if we can just scroll through it. And as we're scrolling, Investigator Potts, what is this?
This is the composite report from our IFMs system.
So do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I'm the person that pulled it from the system.
Are entries in IFMs made as part of the regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, they are.
Are entries in IFMs kept in the ordinary course of regularly conducted business by the PUC?
Yes, they are.
At this time, Your Honor, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 100.
All right, Mr. Yoder, do you have any objection to the admission of exhibit 100?
No, sir. I was just trying to read through it as they were scrolling, but no, sir, I don't.
Is there anything you want to see on that real quickly? We can put it back up there, and you can. If there's
No,
anything-
you're good to go ahead, sir.
Okay. Exhibit 100 shall be admitted.
Thank you. And if we can scroll down to the first page of the report. So I think that's page 2. Yep. What did you learn from this IFMs entry?
It provides information such as the activity of their permit, the addresses and email addresses associated with the company, along with the designated agent information.
And I know that the status on that first page says inactive. Did you pull this report at a time after the initial investigation?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And that was for purposes of creating exhibits for this hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
At the time during the investigation, when you were investigating this in June, what was the status of Phoenix Towing and Recovery's permit?
It was active.
Okay. And if we can scroll down a little bit, that's good. What is the mailing address for Phoenix Towing and Recovery?
6782 Swadley Court, Arvada, Colorado.
Perfect. And if we keep scrolling down to the next page, what is the, and you can stop right there. What is the address of the storage facility of Phoenix Towing and Recovery?
5300 Broadway,
Okay.
Arvada, Colorado.
And who did you learn from this IFMs is a registered agent of Phoenix Towing and Recovery?
That'd be Alex Utter.
Okay. And that's, if we can scroll down to page 4.
Real quick, I'm a little confused why it's showing up like that because it was 5300 Broadway, Denver, 80216. I don't know where the heck this 5300 Broadway, Arvada came from.
Okay, and Mr. Yoder, I'll let you ask questions if you want to ask Mr. Potts about that when it's your opportunity to cross-examine him.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, so I write that down, write that down and go. I gotta ask him about that. That's my
worries.
helpful hint for you.
All right, sorry, sir.
Can we please scroll down to page 4? Thank you. And if we can keep scrolling a little bit. A little bit more. And you can stop there. And is the email address on file phoenixtowing303720@gmail.com?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect, thank you. And we can go ahead and pull this down. And if we could please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 101. What is this, Investigator Potts?
This is the business license for the company that was filed with the Secretary of State's office.
So do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I'm the one that pulled it from the Secretary of State's website.
Is researching respondents via the SOS database a regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 101.
And Mr. Yoder, any objection, to hearing exhibit 101?
No, sir.
All right, 101 shall be admitted.
Thank you. And if we can scroll down, please. Right there is great. When was this company formed?
In July of 2019.
And is the address on file here the same address as what was in the IFMs?
Yes, it's very similar. The address in IFMs lists the address of 5300 Broadway in Denver. However, what was filed with the state is 5300 Broadway in Arvada.
And did you say that was the 10650 West 73rd Place?
No, the mailing address for the resident, I'm sorry, can you ask your question again?
Yeah, it does the principal office street address match the address that was in the IFMs?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And was there an additional mailing address in this SOS entry?
Yes.
Okay. And who is a registered agent on the SOS entry?
Larry Yoder?
What is your understanding of the relationship between Larry Yoder, who's listed on the SOS entry, and Alex Yoder, who's listed on the IFMs entry?
Larry is Alex's father.
Okay. We can go ahead and pull this down. Investigator Potts, did you personally speak with complainant Makia Birch?
Yes, I did.
What did you learn from that conversation in addition to the initial complaint that she filed?
She told me that her vehicle was stolen from out in front of her residence in Aurora. It was later located in a restaurant parking lot near 27th and Colorado in Denver. She said that she was in contact with the Denver Police Department once again, and during that conversation was informed that there wouldn't be any fees associated with the recovery, tow and storage of her vehicle. She said that she went down to the tow company to get the car out, but she was charged approximately $270 in fees and filed a complaint with the Public Utility Commission.
Did you receive a bank statement from Makia Birch indicating proof of payment of the tow?
Yes, ma'am.
Could we please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 102? We can scroll down. And while you're scrolling, I'll ask Investigator Potts some questions. What is this, Investigator Potts?
This is her bank statement.
So do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
This is what I asked for, and this is what she sent me.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's exhibit number 102.
Mr. Yoder, any objection to exhibit 102?
No, sir.
Okay, 102 shall be admitted.
So looking at this page that we're on right now, actually, if we can scroll up to page 1. And on top of this page, do you see complainant Makia Birch's name listed?
Yes, ma'am.
And scrolling down to page 2 of this document, was complainant charged for the tow by Phoenix Towing and Recovery?
Yes, she was.
How much was she charged?
$270.61.
And are you seeking a refund in this case for the amount that Ms. Birch was charged?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we can pull this down. At this point in the investigation, had you been forwarded any documents from Consumer Affairs that respondent provided?
No documentation had been provided.
So what was your next step?
I contacted Alex to ask him about the circumstances regarding this incident and to request the documentation.
Okay. And so I want to walk through those attempts with you. Did you first attempt to contact Alex Yoder on June 24th, 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
And tell us about that conversation.
I called Alex and I was able to speak with him. I kind of ran some of the circumstances that I was aware of about this incident, and he told me he recalled it. He said that the theft portion of this incident was actually separate from this tow. He said that he was informed by the complainant that her daughter was driving the vehicle when it got a flat tire, had broken down, and she parked it in the parking lot of the KFC, where it sat for over a week before the property manager called Alex directly and asked him to come remove the vehicle. I asked him if he still had the documentation from this incident and asked him to send it to me.
And did he say that he would send it to you?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And then moving to July 10th, 2024. By July 10th, did you receive any documentation from Mr. Yoder?
No, I did not.
So did you then follow up with him on that date?
Yes, I did.
And tell us about that conversation.
Again, I believe I called his cell phone number, spoke with him, let him know that I hadn't received anything yet. He told me that he was experiencing some medical issues and promised to get that to me. And that was the end of that conversation.
Investigator Pat, excuse me again, Mr. Strong. I might have, if you said it, I might have missed it, but when did you have these conversations? What dates did you have these conversations with Mr. Yoder?
The initial conversation, I believe, was June 24th. I followed up again on July 10th.
Okay, thank you.
And then moving on to your attempt on July 22nd, 2024, did you have the documents by that date?
No, ma'am.
So did you then reach out to respondent again?
I did. I called the number, but nobody answered. So I left a message and requested a return call.
And then moving on to July 30th, 2024, did you have the documents by then?
No, ma'am.
So did you then reach out to the respondent on that date?
I did. And again, I called the number and there was no answer. I left a message. I believe may have also reached out to the other phone numbers that were filed with the Public Utilities Commission, as well as the email address, in an attempt to remind them that I was still in need of the documentation.
And then moving to August 6th, 2024, did you have the documentation from respondent by then?
No, ma'am, I did not.
So did you attempt to contact respondent again on that date?
I did, and this time I contacted every phone number and email address that was filed for the company. I wasn't able to speak with anybody, but I did send an email to the company letting them know that if I didn't have the documentation by the following day, I have no choice but to issue a CPAN for failing to produce the records. In this case, I did receive an email that evening telling me that they would get me the documentation.
And then moving to August 9th, 2024, did you receive documentation on that day?
No, ma'am, I didn't receive anything.
So what steps did you take on August 9th?
At that point, I had to draft a CPAN for failing to produce records to the Public Utility Commission.
And looking to today, do you have any documentation of this tow?
No, I do not.
Investigator Potts, why is it important for you as a PUC investigator to get documents from respondents in a timely fashion?
If I'm unable to obtain the documentation and review it, I'm not able to do my job.
And in fact, isn't it a rule, a commission rule, that an enforcement official such as yourself has the authority to inspect records within 2 days for any records related to a complaint or investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
And despite this rule giving respondents 2 days to get documentation in, did you give respondent 45 days to give you documentation before you issued a CPAN?
Yes, I did.
So your first attempt was June 24th, 2024, correct?
Correct.
And then you issued the CPAN on August 9th, 2024.
That's correct.
So you gave him more than enough time to get you that documentation.
Yes, I did.
And respondent still didn't provide that required documentation?
I never did receive it.
And what type of documentation were you seeking to receive from respondent?
I believe I had asked him for a copy of the invoice and the authorization from this incident.
So based on your investigation, you said you issued a CPAN, correct?
I did.
Can we please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 103? What is this, Investigator Potts?
This is a civil penalty assessment or notice of complaint to appear that was served to the company.
Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I'm the one that put this together.
Are CPANs made as part of the regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, they are.
Are CPANs kept in the ordinary course of regularly conducted business by the PUC?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 103.
And Mr. Yoder, any objection to 103?
No, sir.
103 shall be admitted.
Thank you. Investigator Potts, what is a violation that you charged respondent with here?
Motor carrier failed to allow the inspection of records within 2 days for any records related to a complaint or investigation.
And is that Commission Rule 6007E2?
Yes, it is.
And based on your investigation and your attempts to contact the respondent in this case, should the commission find that the respondent violated this rule?
Yes, ma'am. I still don't have any records for this.
Okay. If we could scroll down to the bottom of this document. You can stop right there. Perfect. What date was this CPAN served on the respondent?
August 14th, 2024.
Was anybody else with you when you provided service?
Yes, Investigator Hazlett was with me.
Okay. And how was service accomplished?
Personal service.
Where did you serve respondent?
At their office in tow yard, 5300 Broadway in Denver.
And that's the same address that was listed on both the IFMs and the SOS website?
Yes, ma'am.
Who accepted service?
An individual by the name of Stephen Vigil.
Okay. And what is your understanding of Stephen Vigil as it has to do with Phoenix Towing?
Stephen Vigil works for the tow company. At the day of service, we went to the tow yard, but nobody was present. So I called the phone number that was on the Phoenix Towing sign, and Mr. Vigil answered. I told him that I was there from the PUC and that I had some documentation that I needed to go over with the company. He told me that Alex was unavailable at the moment due to some medical issues and that Mr. Vigil was running the company at the moment. He then, within the hour, met me at the tow yard where he accepted the CPAN.
And I don't know if it was just me. I think Investigator Potts, you cut out just a little bit. Was that the same for everyone else?
Yes, it cut out for a second.
Yeah,
Okay.
it did for me as well too. So
Okay. Can you just repeat what you said?
Yes. On August 14th, Ms. Hazlett and myself drove to the respondent's tow yard, but there was nobody present. We called the phone number that was advertised on their sign for Phoenix Towing and spoke with Stephen Vigil. Mr. Vigil told me that Alex was unavailable at the moment, was experiencing some medical issues, but that he was running the tow company at the time. We told him that we needed to meet with him. We had some documentation to go over with him. So he met us down at the tow yard within the hour and accepted the CPAN document on Alex's behalf.
And if we scroll up on this document just a little bit, is that whose signature appears on this document?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. And we can pull this exhibit down. So I now want to move on to 24G-0347TO. This is the second case. How did you come to be assigned to this case, CPAN number 140671? That brings us to a hearing today.
Again, another towing complaint had been filed against Phoenix Towing.
And who was that complaint filed by?
An individual by the name of Matthew Hood.
What did you learn from that initial complaint from Matthew Hood?
Mr. Hood said that he was on his way to work that evening and was working across the street from a Torchy's Tacos located at 1085 Broadway. He admittedly parked his vehicle in the parking lot of Torchy's, but then went across the street to work that evening. When he got off that night, he noticed that his vehicle was gone and that it had been towed by Phoenix. He then filed a complaint with the commission in regards to that event.
And did that occur on May 10th, 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As part of your investigation in this case, is the information you found in IFMs and SOS the same as the information you found in the other proceeding?
Yes, ma'am, it's the same.
Okay. Did Consumer Affairs get additional information about this tow directly from registered agent Alex Yoder?
Yes, they did.
And did you receive and review a copy of that email chain?
Yes, I did.
If we can please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 104. Investigator Potts, what is this?
This is the response to several questions that were asked of Phoenix Towing by our Consumer Affairs Division.
So do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
This chain was sent to me where I printed it off into a PDF format and saved to the file.
Are correspondences with respondents made as part of the regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, ma'am, they did.
Are correspondences with respondents kept in the ordinary course of business by the PUC?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit staff's hearing exhibit number 104.
And before I ask you, Mr. Yoder, Stephanie, can you just go down and show the whole document? Stop there for just a second. Okay, keep going. That it? Okay. Now I'll ask you, Mr. Yoder, do you have any objection to exhibit 104?
No, sir.
Okay, 104 shall be admitted.
Thank you. And if we could scroll down to the middle of page 1. Right there is perfect. And Investigator Potts, who are these answers being made by?
Mr. Yoder.
Okay. What type of location did Mr. Yoder say this tow occurred at?
It was a commercial property.
Okay. And was that the Torchy's location that complainant also told you about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And who did respondents say authorized this tow?
A Shannon Ashbrook.
Okay. And we can pull this exhibit down, and if we can please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 105. And while we're getting that pulled up, Investigator Potts, did respondent also provide the invoice of this tow?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And did you receive that invoice as part of your investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Looking at what's on the screen now, what is this, Investigator Potts?
This is the invoice for the tow in question.
So do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
This is what I reviewed and saved to the file.
And is this what was sent by respondent?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit staff's hearing exhibit number 105.
And Stephanie, I'm gonna have you go down to the bottom of this one again, so. All right, Mr. Yoder, any objection to 105?
No, sir.
Okay, 105 shall be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Potts, did the invoice have a name of the person who authorized the tow?
No, it does not.
Who does it say? How does it say that this tow came about?
It says manager's request park and walk.
Okay, so the name Shannon Ashbrook does not appear on this invoice at all?
That is correct.
Okay, and if we could scroll down to the bottom. Was this invoice total $371.79?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the amount that you are seeking for a refund today?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. We can pull this document down. Investigator Potts, did the respondent also provide the alleged contract that they had with this establishment?
Yes, they did.
Okay, can we pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 106? What is this, Investigator Potts?
This is the towing agreement between Torchy's Tacos and Phoenix Towing.
Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
This contract was provided by Mr. Yoder to the Public Utilities Commission.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit staff's hearing exhibit number 106.
Mr. Yoder, any objection to 106?
No, sir.
106 shall be admitted.
Who are the parties to this contract?
Torchy's Tacos and Phoenix Towing.
Okay. And was this for towing services at that location?
Yes, ma'am.
When did this contract go into effect?
January 10th, 2023.
And how long was it to remain in effect for?
12 months.
And if we look at the bottom of the page, please. Who was the authorizing owner at this time?
The signing party on behalf of Torchy's Tacos is a Shannon Ashbrook.
So did this contract expire?
Yes. The contract is to remain in effect for 1 year. However, there is a stipulation that if at the end of the year, the contract would automatically renew unless I believe some sort of written disclosure was filed between either the company or between either companies asking that the contract to be removed or the towing services to stop being provided.
Okay. So on the date of offense, May 10th, 2024, this contract had expired unless it was renewed, correct?
Correct.
And I got a different understanding of what Investigator Potts said. The contract would renew unless something happened, correct? Unless some document, I mean, the contract would renew, according to the reading of it, unless some document was filed to annul the contract, correct?
Correct. It is located, I believe, in the first sentence of the contract.
That statement, not a abrogation of the contract.
Yes, that statement or something to that effect.
Okay.
Okay. So we can pull this contract down. Investigator Potts, did you follow up with anybody at Torchy's Corporate to confirm whether the contract was valid?
Yes, I did.
Who did you reach out to?
I spoke with a lady by the name of Jessica Kirker. She is the Vice President of Legal Affairs for the Torchy's corporate office.
And what did you learn from her as part of your investigation?
Ms. Kirker told me that Shannon Ashbrook was a restaurant manager at this Torchy's Tacos. However, she was only there for a very short period of time, and it was not during the time in which the contract was signed, and that she was actually not even assigned to a Colorado branch, the date of signature and the date of effect on the contract.
So Shannon Ashbrook was not in Colorado on May 10th, 2024.
Correct.
In fact, she was not employed by a Colorado Torchies on May 10th, 2024.
That is correct.
So based on your investigation, did Shannon Ashbrook authorize this tow?
She did not.
Okay. And Investigator Potts, were you familiar with Phoenix Towing prior to this incident?
Yes, I was.
How were you familiar with Phoenix Towing and Recovery?
I was assigned to a previous complaint about 3 months prior to this incident, in which a tow was performed from this very same Torchies. I was provided with this very same contract. And when I attempted to verify the authorization in the tow in that case, I was put in contact with Ms. Kirker and Ms. Ashbrook once again. They both informed me that, again, Ms. Ashbrook was not in Colorado on the date of the tow in that case, nor was she in Colorado or signed an agreement with the tow company on January 12th, 2023. Or January, whatever the date of the signature is on the contract.
So did Ms. Kirker confirm that Torchies had not renewed any towing agreements with Phoenix Towing?
She did confirm that they were instructed not to renew any agreements with Phoenix Towing.
So you mentioned one prior incident that occurred at this Torchies location involving Phoenix Towing and Recovery. Were there any other incidents that occurred at this Torchies involving Phoenix Towing and Recovery?
Yes, I believe prior to this, there were 2 or 3 other complaints from this Torchies Tacos involving tows from the company.
And were any CPAN served on respondent as a result of those previous incidents occurring at Torchies?
Yes.
How many?
There's a total of 4 CPANs that were served in regards to tows from this Torchies Tacos.
Okay. And were these prior CPANs that occurred at the Torchies location all paid by respondent?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And in paying those CPANs, was respondent admitting liability?
Yes, they were.
Okay. So based on your investigation, was Shannon Ashbrook an authorizing party in this instance?
No, she was not.
Could she have physically been the authorizing party for this tow in this instance?
No, she could have not.
Okay. So based on your investigation, did you issue a CPAN?
Yes, I did.
Can we pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 107? We can scroll through this document. What is this, Investigator Potts?
This is the civil penalty assessment and notice to appear that I put together.
So you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I'm the one that compiled it and served it to the respondent.
Are CPANs made as part of the regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, they are.
Are CPANs kept in the ordinary course of regularly conducted business by the PUC?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 107.
Mr. Yoder, any objection to exhibit 107?
No, sir.
All right, 107 shall be admitted.
Investigator Potts, what is a violation that you ultimately charged respondent with?
The motor carrier made or caused to be made fraudulent or intentionally false statements or records to the commission or commission staff.
And was that due to the fact that respondent identified Shannon Ashbrook as the person who authorized this tow?
That's correct.
And we can pull this exhibit down. Did you serve that CPAN at the same time as a CPAN in 24G-0348TO?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Now I want to go into your familiarity with Phoenix Towing. You had mentioned that there were prior CPANs that occurred at the Torchy's location. Are you aware of any other CPANs that this respondent has received in the past?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us about those?
There is a total of 16 CPANs that have been issued to the company since January of 2024.
And can you walk us through a summary of what those CPANs entailed?
Certainly. In this particular case from Torchy's Tacos, another investigator had reported that they interviewed former tow truck drivers for the company and were informed that Phoenix Towing would pay the wives or girlfriends of the tow drivers to sit in a bar at Torchy's and spot for people who park in the parking lot and frequent or patronize a different business. A total summary of the violations and the Torchy's Taco towing complaints, as well as other locations. The violations included providing fraudulent documentation to the PUC, failing to maintain the accuracy of their records, not having proper permission prior to towing a vehicle, overcharges, signage complaints, things of that nature.
And did the respondent pay each of these prior CPANs?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And in doing so, did respondent admit liability for each of those prior CPANs?
Yes, they did.
And you said there were 16 total since January 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Investigator Potts, what is your recommendation today?
That the penalty be imposed and that a refund be issued to the vehicle owner. And I would also ask that some sort of cease and desist order be issued directing the tow company to stop towing unless we're following the rules here.
And
I understand they're out of business, but
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Stop doing what? Stop doing?
well, it's kind of an awkward situation because the company is out of business at the moment. But I would ask that the ALJ issue a cease and desist order to stop the respondent from performing tows out of compliance with PUC rule.
And in your view, Investigator Potts, and your experience as a criminal investigator at the PUC, what are the aggravating circumstances of this particular case?
Well, given that this is the 16th CPAN since January, I think that kind of speaks for itself.
And before we end, Your Honor, at this time, staff would also move to admit the confidential version of hearing exhibit 100. I think that we had only admitted the redacted version.
Okay. Well, I'm guessing that's 100C.
100C, yes.
Yeah, okay. That shall be admitted also.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Investigator Potts. Staff has no further questions.
All right. Let's see. Mr. Yoder, you ready? You already asked some questions, Mr. Potts. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's your opportunity to do that. I'm going to ask you real quickly. Do you think you're going to go longer than about 30 minutes?
No, sir.
Okay. I have to make sure I take care of my court reporter, so we're going to take a break at 10:30 no matter what happens. So, but if you're ready to go, you can ask Investigator Potts any questions you have. And again, and I'll remind you, it's not a time for you to testify. It's just a time for you to ask questions based upon his testimony. Okay.
There's no real questions I can ask on that because I've been trying to clean up everything from the previous owner that when I took over the company in January. And this is just a follow-up with the other CPAN fines of just stuff that LeGrand Bonnet had been doing that I had no knowledge of until I took over the company and started receiving a ridiculous amount of CPAN fines. So there's no real questions that I can ask. And I mean, it's a follow along of what I was trying to clean up after I took over ownership in January.
Okay. So you have no questions for Investigator Potts then?
No, sir.
Okay. And like I said, you have the opportunity to tell me more about that. I'll let you testify.
Of course.
And you tell me all about that. And again, I might have questions for you and so might Ms. Chong. So just keep that in mind. The one thing I'll tell you, and I'll tell you one other thing that I forgot to mention. You don't have to testify either if you don't want to. So it's totally up to you. All right, Investigator Potts, I want to get a few things straight in my head here. Let's go back to the first tow. Did you ever get any documentation from the police that the car had been stolen or that there was something wrong with that?
No, I did not.
Okay, so at least as far as we know, there's no evidence that the car was stolen that you saw.
That's correct.
Is there anything other than the word of the person who got towed saying they weren't going to have to pay for the storage or the towing or anything like that?
No, at face value, based upon what was explained to me by both the vehicle owner and the towing company, the tow sounded righteous. I would have no reason to dispute that.
Okay,
However,
yeah,
I have no documentation.
yeah, that's just going to make sure. Just there was nothing that you saw actually wrong with the tow.
Correct.
And if so, I just want to say that. I also want to ask you. So you contacted him. You say you contacted Mr. Yoder about 3 or 4 times about signing the documentation. Did you ever, anytime during that time, say a failure to provide those documents would lead to a CPAN, or you only had this much time to provide those documents, or you just asked for the documents?
No, I did not give him a deadline. Alex was very forthcoming and cooperative, and promised to get me the documentation by the end of the week on both phone calls. So I accepted that as his offer and promised that you'd provide it by the end of the week.
Okay. Well, and you mentioned that he was cooperative in other times. So you've dealt with him on other cases and other investigations. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And has he at any of those times been hard to deal with? Any harder to deal with than any other tow operator? Let's put it that way.
No, Alex has always been cooperative and responsive to my requests. So this certainly surprised me when this happened.
Okay. And so the documentation that you were just asking for him was just the invoice, and what other documentation were you asking for him?
I believe I asked him for all the documentation associated with this tow. However, the most important thing that I was looking for would be the authorization and the invoice to see what happened and who approved the tow to be removed.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you about the second tow now. When did you start? I don't think this came out. I didn't have it down here. When did you start the investigation on this tow? I think we had May 10th is when the tow occurred. Do you know when you started the investigation?
I believe it was about the same time as the previous case. I know I was assigned the complaints on the same day, so about a month after the tow had occurred.
Okay. And again, if I understand the contract, if I understand your testimony and I understand what you told me about the contract, and I'll look at it later, the contract automatically goes into effect for the next year unless something else is entered in breaking the contract, correct?
That's correct.
And you don't have any evidence that anything ever happened that stopped the contract?
That is correct.
Okay, so the contract would be in force on the date of the tow?
To my assumption, yes, and this is the document that the respondent provided me with, informing the state that they had authorization to remove the vehicle.
Okay, and let me ask you, when you asked for the documentation in this case, did Mr. Yoder provide it promptly?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And I'm just going to base upon, I think we're going to hear about this, I'm going to ask you anyway. Mr. Yoder has at least alluded to in various comments here that he had medical issues or anything like that and was hospitalized. Are you familiar with anything like that?
That was the information I was provided. I didn't ask him certainly to go into detail about what specifically was going on, but he told me he was experiencing medical problems, and so did the staff. So,
okay, were those medical problems? Did they occur when you were asking for were the same time as you were asking for the documentation in the first case?
I believe after the second phone call with him is when he made me aware of that.
Okay, so about the same time. So the second phone call, you asked one time, and by the second phone call, at least you become aware now, if not then, that perhaps he was experiencing medical difficulties. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you weren't able, and to the extent that you weren't able to serve him personally.
That's correct. That's what I was informed in the tow yard.
Okay. The other thing is that I believe I've come to understand, again, based upon some comments Mr. Yoder has stated, it appears he's not been the owner of Phoenix Towing forever. Is that correct?
To my understanding, yes.
Do you know when he became the owner of Phoenix Towing?
I don't know when I do not know the specific date. I believe it was prior to these incidents. He was named the registered agent of the company at the time that the tows were performed.
Okay, and again, we've established that his father's part of the company. The other owner was not his father; it was someone different, not someone with the last name Yoder. Put it that way.
There was a different registered agent with the company by the name of Legrand Bonnet.
Okay.
And he was our prior point of contact before these incidents that occurred.
Okay. Well, and when you said the incidents that occurred, does that include the prior CPANs?
I don't know when Alex and Bonnet switched from registered agent, but it may have been during that time. I don't know.
So we don't know how many of those CPANs actually the old ones were when Mr. Yoder owned the company, and how much they were when this other gentleman did.
I know several of those previous CPANs occurred when Alex was the designated agent, the registered agent. I don't know about all of them.
Okay. And go back to the second tow. Again, at least from what I can tell, it was a totally legal tow. Not that person was illegally parked and got towed, correct?
Correct. It wasn't their property. They weren't patronizing the business.
Okay. And you say you talked to the folks at Torchy's Tacos corporate. Miss Ashbrook did work for Torchy's Tacos, at least at one point, correct?
Yes, she did.
And there's no evidence that she wasn't responsible in signing that contract. Is that correct?
Correct.
And again, we don't know that contract. If my recollection of that exhibit was signed in January of 2023, correct?
Correct.
Subject to check. And at that point, we don't know who the owner of Phoenix Towing is, do we?
No, I don't know that off the top of my head.
Yeah, like I said, it could have been Mr. Yoder, it could have been the other guy. So I guess my question is, Mr. Yoder is supposed to make sure that if he's told the manager the manager at Torchy's told me to tow this car, that this car was towed illegally. And he puts down the other name. Let's say he put down the other name. Let's say there's a new manager. Her name's Williams. And so Mr. Yoder says, yeah, Michelle Williams told me to do it. Would there be a problem because the name on the contract, the authorizing agent, was not the same as the one he put down?
No, but what I was informed by Torchy's corporate is that they issued a cease and desist order to the restaurant in about March of this year. In my initial complaints that we're not here talking about today. As a result of that case, they issued a cease and desist to the restaurant, telling them no more business with Phoenix Towing.
So the corporate told the local Torchies, don't work with Phoenix.
That is correct.
Do you have any evidence that the local Torchies told Phoenix, get out of here, don't work with us anymore?
In speaking with Ms. Kirker from the corporate office, they also served a cease and desist to the tow company as well.
Okay.
They're no longer welcome to be on the property performing tows.
As of when?
I believe that was served in April.
Do we have any documentation of that?
No, this is a phone conversation with the corporate officer.
And who was the owner when that was done? Who's the owner of Phoenix when that contact was made? Do we know who the owner was at that point?
I believe Alex was still the registered agent. What ownership's interests were involved with the company, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I mean when Torchy's corporate tells Phoenix cease and desist, we're not sure who the owner is, are we?
I know that Alex is designated as the registered agent, but again, I don't know who is also involved in ownership with Phoenix Towing.
I mean, again, if Mr. Yoder buys the company from someone and they say, listen, we have a contract with Torchy's, he shows them the contract. Is there any reason why Mr. Yoder would not think that they have a contract?
Correct.
Is there any reason why he would know that there's a cease and desist that you know of?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. And again, I'll just ask you real quickly. So overall, Mr. Yoder's been fairly cooperative through the investigations. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all I have, Ms. Chong. You may go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor, just a few questions on redirect. I want to go back to the first case. So this is the 0348TO case. You had been speaking with Judge Garvey about whether you ever told Mr. Yoder that you would assign a CPAN unless he got these documentations to you. So I just want to go back to that question. You contacted Mr. Yoder on August 6, 2024, correct?
That is correct.
And in that conversation, did you let him know that if you did not receive documentation by the next day, that you would have to issue a CPAN?
That is correct.
Okay. And you didn't receive that documentation the next day?
That is correct.
Okay. And moving on to the 0347 case. Investigator Potts, you had mentioned that there was a previous incident at this Torchy's that you had investigated, correct?
That is correct.
And can you tell us a little bit about the circumstances of that previous incident?
It was nearly identical to this case. The contract was used to authorize the tow of a vehicle from Torchy's, where it is alleged that the vehicle owner used the parking lot to patronize another business. I followed up to verify the authorization for the tow and was informed by Ms. Ashbrook as well as Ms. Kirker that Ms. Ashbrook did not sign the towing agreement on the date in question and was actually not assigned to a Torchy's Colorado location at that time.
And at that time, do you remember approximately what date that was?
I believe March of 2024.
Okay. And at that time, who were you speaking with on the respondent side to resolve this issue?
Mr. Yoder.
Okay. So at that time, Mr. Yoder was made aware of the circumstances of how Shannon Ashbrook was not the correct authorizing party, correct?
That is correct.
So he was on notice that she did not live in the state?
That is correct.
He was on notice that she did not work at the Colorado Torchy's location?
That is correct.
And he was on notice that putting her name down was a violation given that she was not the correct authorizing agent, correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Yoder did pay that CPAN that you're speaking of in March 2024 for that incident?
Yes, ma'am.
And in doing so, he was admitting his liability in putting the incorrect authorizing agent name on that in his conversations with Consumer Affairs?
That's correct.
Okay. And bringing it back to the case that we're at today, should Mr. Yoder have been on notice that Shannon Ashbrook was not in the state?
That is correct. That was a conversation that me and him had face-to-face at the PUC office when I served in the previous CPAN.
Okay. And that she was not employed by that particular Torchy's?
Correct.
Okay. And despite being on notice of that, did respondent in this case state that the authorizing party was Shannon Ashbrook?
Yes, he did.
And can you tell us why it's important to have an accurate authorizing party on these forms?
So that we can verify whether or not this is a lawful authorization. And that it was a real authorization.
Yep. And does knowing that point of contact help you in your investigation as you're trying to, protect public safety as it has to do with towing carriers?
Yes, it does.
Okay. If I might just have one moment to check in with my co-counsel, Your Honor.
Yeah, let me, you can, but before you do that, let me ask Mr. Potts one question that you brought up there. How did he inform you that Ms. Ashbrook was the party? Through talking to you or through a document?
No, when the complaint's filed through Consumer Affairs, that is the division that initially reviews these complaints, and they generate an email with a generic set of questions that are being asked of the tow company, such as date, time, and location, who authorized the tow. And in the response to these questions, Mr. Yoder identified Ms. Ashbrook as the person that authorized the tow of this vehicle.
And that was the email that we saw previously as, I forget what
Yes,
exhibit number, but okay. And so that's how you got that. Again, and just so I understand again, if he'd put down some other name that's not on the contract, would that have caused a red flag?
No, not necessarily, but we attempt to verify the authorization on every complaint that we're assigned.
What if he just put the on-duty manager?
I would follow up with the Torchy's restaurant to see if any of their managers recall that incident.
Did you do that in this case?
No, I did not.
And the only reason I ask is I don't know if Mr. Yoder is going to remember the name of the manager, but he has a contract with this person, assuming since he's not, I don't think he's keeping up with the comings and goings of staff at Torchy's. Okay, that's it. Go, Ms. Chong, go talk to co-counsel and
Yes.
don't go anywhere, Mr. Batts.
Yeah, and just to clarify on that exact line of questioning, if I may,
Hmm?
Your Honor. The authorizing party of a tow is actually the person who authorized it, correct?
Correct.
So if a manager had authorized a tow and that name appeared in the answer from respondent, that would not be an issue.
Correct.
The issue here is that the name that respondent provided who authorized the tow was not the correct person who authorized the tow, correct?
That's correct.
And you found that out through your investigation by speaking with Ms. Kirker and your previous incident, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Your Honor, with that, staff has no further questions.
All right. Mr. Yoder, it is now
Yes, sir.
your opportunity. If you want to tell me anything, if you want to testify, you can do that. Again, you're not forced to do that. And I don't want you to say anything that could possibly be incriminating against you in any other proceedings, because this could be used against you for those. But if you do want to
Understood.
talk, if you do want to testify, if you do want to tell me anything, if you want to tell me what a nice day it is out there, you can do that as well.
It's cold.
But would you like to would you like to testify, sir?
No, because I mean, yeah, there's stuff I want to say, but it's all relevant at this point, seeing as though the company shut down and I was putting out fires for the previous owner. And in accordance to the tow agreement with Shannon Ashbrook, that was an outdated tow agreement that
Well, hang on, because you're kind of testifying now, okay? And if you want to tell me that, you can. Like I say, I'm willing to hear it, and mitigation's important too. Okay,
understandable.
I have to wait. I have discretion of how much the fine is going to be, and so seriously, if you want to tell me these things and tell me that, I'm interested. So I would like to hear it. So again, I'm not forcing you to testify.
No, you're fine.
But if you want to keep talking, I'm gonna swear you in.
I mean, yeah, you can, because I mean, I'd love to explain how Torchy's operated, because there's a lot of misunderstanding with that.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get stop for a second. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, under penalty of perjury?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Ms. Hayden, do you want to say something, or are you just hanging out?
Just hanging out for the moment, Your Honor. If there's any
Okay.
cross, I will be handling that.
Okay, he's popped out there. I just wanted to make sure that I'm going to make sure that be okay. All right.
Would you
Mr.
prefer I turn my camera off?
No. I listen. You got stuck looking at me. Fair's fair. Mr. Yoder, go ahead. Tell me what you want me to know.
So when all the CPAN fines that Investigator Potts was referring to started rolling in and everything like that, I started looking at all the tow agreements for all of our properties and realized that a lot of them were outdated, were management that were not at the locations anymore and anything like that. And I had went and spoke with, I believe his name was Luke at the time, around, I want to say the end of January. And I actually got 3 different tow agreements signed, one by each acting manager of the Torchy's location. And with just the way I like to be, well, used to before the company was still active, just I hated making mistakes. I hated it because of course people hate getting their cars towed. So what we did is I actually would keep an eye on the property myself. And before any vehicle was towed, I'd go and find one of the acting managers, point the car out, say, hey, this car's been sitting here for about 10, 15 minutes. They went down to Cabron, or they went over to the club, or, effed off to the haircut place or whatever the case was. And I would purposely give them about 15, 20 minutes to see if they came back or not before the vehicle was removed. So I know Luke was one of the managers that had signed the tow agreement. I can't remember the other two because it's been a little while. And that particular location was I guess a training location for management, that they would bring people in for management, train the management, and then farm them out to a different location. So I know, like Luke, for instance, he ended up at the Boulder location. I know that's relevant with this, but I would always try to not make mistakes. And when those CPAN fines started rolling in, and I noticed that a lot of it had to do with the previous owner of LeGrand, I started going back to all the properties and having fresh tow agreements signed. So even though, yes, that was the tow agreement with Shannon Ashbrook that was signed back when LeGrand owned the company, I went back when I saw that they were outdated, different staff, different name and everything like that. I went and was updating all the tow agreements. And Stephen V. Hill, when he was answering the phones, taking care of everything when I went down for my back surgery, I guess he sent the wrong one in because that was not the current tow agreement with Luke and with one of the other managers.
Okay, so let me first off, who's Luke? What was Luke's last name?
I'd have to find the actual tow agreement to get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you were not, let me real quickly, I didn't see, I was going to check on the email later, but you weren't the one who sent that email in. It was the person that was.
No, so that was my office manager, Stephen V. Hill, that was sending them in.
Okay. All right. And well, I'll let you talk more before I ask any more questions, but.
You're good. Go ahead. I just wanted to kind of clarify the air on the Torchies.
Yeah, no. Is there anything else you want to testify to? Tell me?
No.
Okay. Ms. Hayden, I'll let you do any cross first if you want.
Yes, please. Jennifer Hayden, Assistant Attorney General on behalf of staff. Mr. Yoder, in these two cases, the first one where there's an allegation of not turning over records in regards to Makia's car, you weren't able to provide those, were you?
Well, again, with Stephen V. Hill, I was bedridden, unfortunately, because I could barely walk with my back injury. And I had told him several times to get that information sent in. And every single time I asked him, hey, did you get it sent in? He was like, yes, no, email was sent. And it was, I guess, my fault for not confirming that the email was sent. I took him on his word.
Okay. But you recognize that those records did not reach Investigator Potts during the course of this investigation. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when it comes to the Torchy's tacos, you had found that indeed was an outdated tow agreement. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was not in effect?
Well, the agreement, I guess the overall agreement was still in effect, but since Shannon was no longer there, I didn't know she had actually been out of state.
Mm-hmm.
That was news to me that I just found out in the course of this meeting. But when I saw that it was outdated and everything, because me personally, I knew that, you guys or the PUC like the contracts to be updated yearly, even though most tow agreements with most towing companies say unless, written notice is provided, it just continues on. My personal thing was I like to get them updated just so we had current information, current contact information, everything like that. So when I realized that the tow agreements were out of date and staff had changed, I went into Torchy's, and like I said, I had gotten 3 contract signs, one with each one of the acting managers at the time.
And that information was never provided to staff or counsel, is that correct?
Well, I had assumed that Stephen sent the correct one, and obviously he didn't.
But Mr. Yoder, you were in fact in touch with counsel for staff during the course of these proceedings, isn't that right?
I had talked to Joe a few times, except when I was actually in the hospital. And I assumed because I handed the company phone line and everything off to Stephen that he was maintaining and keeping up with everything.
And that didn't happen, did it, Mr. Yoder?
Come to find out now, no, it didn't.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. I was going to ask a couple of things, Mr. Yoder. First off, it's good to see that you are now walking. I mean, if you couldn't walk before, it's good to see you are walking. And
Quite a bit of
so
nerve damage on my left leg, but I'm doing physical therapy and trying to get back to normal.
I've herniated 2 discs in my back, so
Yep.
I know the trouble that can be.
Oh yeah.
It's when were you, how long were you, you said you had back surgery. When did that happen? And
I had back surgery the end of July, but I had been bedridden in the course of going to the MRIs with contrast, just all the doctor's appointments and everything like that. So I had been out of commission, ooh, end of June, beginning of July-ish. I had actually been stepped away from the company and entrusted Stephen to kind of take care of the office work and everything like that.
and when did you come back?
Never really did. That's why I ended up shutting the doors.
Okay. All right.
Because everything I've been getting phone calls from properties, talking about the drivers just being disrespectful and stuff. So I had let staff go. And then before I actually closed the doors, Mr. Stephen V. Hill decided to help himself and steal some stuff from the office that I can now not get in contact with him or get that stuff back.
Okay, so the gentleman that sent the email with the wrong name on it,
Mhm.
it has since been stole stuff from you and is gone in the wind.
Yes.
All right.
So that's when I was finally like, I'm over it. I'm done. And I decided to close the doors and contacted the properties and said, hey, if you want to continue towing, you're going to have to find a new tow company.
Okay. And so you stopped all operations. You're not doing anything anymore.
Yes, sir. I don't even have any of my trucks anymore. Business is shut down.
Okay. And you've been shut
I
down
decided
for
to a little over 3 months.
okay. All right. I don't have anything further. Mr. Yoder, if the questions that I've asked you or that Ms. Hayden's asked you makes you want to tell me about something else, you can do that. If not,
No, sir. I just wanted to clarify how Torchy's operated and everything when I was still semi-active with the company.
no, I appreciate that very much.
Of course.
Like I say, the more information I get, the better I can figure out what needs to happen and what I think should happen.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, Ms. Chong or Ms. Hayden, that's the end of Mr. Yoder's testimony. Did you want any rebuttal case?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Mr. Yoder, it's going to be your last chance to ask any questions of me because I'm going to go away in a minute. So,
You're good, Josh.
I gotta close the record of this proceeding now. Like I told you at the beginning, I'm not gonna say anything or issue anything out right now. I'll do that. Hopefully, holidays are coming up, and so I'm taking some time off. It might take me a little while longer than normal to get something out on this. I don't need it. I'll leave it. Ms. Chong, do you want to, or Ms. Hayden, do you want to file anything on this? I really don't think I need any statement of position in this case.
No, that's fine from staff.
Okay. So I'll look for that. I'll work on it. Mr. Yoder, it's good to see, like I say, it's good to see you walking around.
I appreciate that, Judge.
I have lived in that back pain world and it's never goes away.
Unfortunately, and sadly enough, because of the towing industry, this is now surgery number 2 on the same spot.
Oh man, I have not had back surgery and I've avoided it for about 15, 20 years. But good luck with
one
that.
thing I was going to say real quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt, is if you guys want a different email address that I'd be able to access and respond to better, you guys can take down my personal email if you want.
Okay.
Just so that way you have another point of contact.
Say it real quickly, or say not say it, don't say it quickly. Say it, and my court reporter will take it down, and we'll have it there. And so,
yeah, it's yoderalex.ay@gmail.
Okay. If the business is out of commission, we'll do that, but I'll try and make sure that any decision that goes out goes to that email as well.
Okay, perfect. I just figured that was another point of contact, so that way there's no, I didn't receive it or I didn't see it or something like that. So I just wanted to give another point of contact out.
All right. I thank you very much, Ms. Chung, Ms. Hayden. Thank you very much. Investigator Potts, thank you for your testimony today. I always appreciate your testimony and time you take to do this. And Mr. Yoder, again, good luck. Good luck with healing and feeling better. I wish everyone a happy holiday season and stay warm. By the way, my Furnace is out again, so my house is really cold. But
Well,
so don't have that happen to you. But
right.
one last chance, Ms. Chong, do you have anything?
Nothing further from staff. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Yoder, you got any parting words?
Mm. Just I hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday, and yeah, stay warm out there and stay safe.
All right, sounds good. Ms. Hayden, she took over. Sorry, you don't. You want? I'll give you one.
No, I'll defer to
Okay.
council.
Okay. All right. We'll be in adjournment, and thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay.
you.
You too.
Thank you, Mr. Potts, for using those ear things. Helped a lot. I mean, his headphones.